Hey, welcome everybody to our February 2024 meeting of the Google Educator Group of Ohio, GEG Ohio. Uh, this is a monthly meeting where we take a look at everything that is new in Google for Schools, share some tips and tricks, take questions, and hopefully give some answers related to getting the most out of Google in education. So howdy, everybody. My name is Eric Kurtz. I'm a technology integration specialist or a tech coach at the Stark County Educational Service Center, technically Spark, the ITC portion of that. We serve about 35 school districts up here in Northeast Ohio. And I am joined, as often I am, by Denny. Denny, why don't you introduce yourself?
Hey all, my name's Denny Hammond. I am an ed tech data coach in Southern Ohio, near Chillicothe, dean of local schools. So glad to be here.
And again, I really appreciate Denny being here, helping out and contributing all throughout the session with his input and ideas and questions and so forth. And we do have other folks that sometimes join us, Sarah and Stephanie and John. If any of them pop in throughout the session today, that'll be great. But that's why we have multiple co-hosts so that we can all carry the load depending upon who is available. But thank you to everybody who is here today, whether you're watching live or if you're watching the recording later. Either way, we really appreciate you taking time out of your day to be a part of this. I do see a lot of folks in the chat saying where they are from, so please continue to do that. You can introduce yourself. I'm seeing certainly a lot of Ohio, but just for clarification, yes, this is GEG Ohio, but it's open to anybody who has an interest in using Google tools in school. So as I'm looking down through here, I am seeing Georgia, I am seeing California, I'm seeing Iowa. Here's a Chicago, here's a Pennsylvania, here's a Rhode Island, Indiana. So we are getting a wide range of people from all over, including certainly a lot of folks from here in Ohio. Appreciate you guys being here with us. Little bit of housekeeping before we dive into our meeting. As always, I would definitely encourage you to open up the resource document for this particular session. I will drop the link back into the chat again if somebody for any reason has not been able to pick it up from there already. But hey, if you're watching in the future, the link should be down below in the description of the video. Or hey, you can always just head out to the GEG Ohio website and get it there, bit.ly/GEG Ohio. That'll get you to the website. From there, we have a monthly meetings tab. If you go to that tab, you will see all of the meeting dates, as well as a link to the agenda, the live video, which then becomes the recorded video afterwards as well. While we're there, I guess a quick shout out. Our next meeting will be March 27th. Typically, we go for the last Wednesday of the month. So as long as nothing changes, I'd always say check back and make sure that that is still accurate as we get closer to the next meeting. But this document is editable. As long as you're a member of our Google Educator Group of Ohio Google group, you have edit rights to this. If you're not a member of the group, that's okay. No worries. You would have comment rights. So you can leave comments for sure. But hey, feel free to join the group and then you'll have edit rights to the document. As far as where you might want to throw in some things in our document, I would say there's a section here called upcoming events. That is a great spot. If you know of, a conference or a virtual webinar or any sort of professional development opportunity for folks, please drop that in there. We would love to see other ways that we can keep on learning. I'd say another good place to drop things into the document would be further down under the show and tell. There is a community show and tell section where we would encourage you to share any tips, tricks, resources, whatever you might want to put in there. And of course, the Q&A section. If you've got a question, or if you got an answer for somebody's question, please do start filling that in as well. We appreciate everybody who contributes to this document for every meeting that we have. All right, well, let's go ahead and get on into this then. We've already done our welcomes and introductions. Let's quickly mention our important links. One of them that we always draw attention to is our sign-in form. So highlighted in green here, you'll see a bit.ly link that'll take you out to a Google form. Please take a moment, if you don't mind, and sign in for our meeting here. Basically, what this does is it does two things. It allows us to let Google know how many people attended. We just share numbers so they know how many were there. But it also allows me to generate certificates of attendance for you. So sometime between now and the next meeting, I'll run Autocrat and generate some certificates of attendance so that you can get credit for being a part of this meeting, whether you watched live or recorded. Either way is totally fine. All right, let's see. Next up, we've got group updates. Yeah, that Google group I was just mentioning about being a part of the GEG Ohio Google group. Here are directions for how to join that group. We have over 1,500 people in that group. It's a robust, fantastic group. So you can easily follow that link and go there and join the group. Basically, it's an email group. So hey, if you've got a question, if you've got a comment, if you've got something to share, you can post it to the group, and you got 1,500 other amazing educators there, and somebody's going to have an answer. Somebody's going to be able to help support you in that. So please do consider connecting through that group. It's a great way to stay in touch in between our meetings. Next up, we've got our upcoming events, which we mentioned just a moment ago. Again, please feel free to add things to that. I would say a couple of quick things here to mention. Google is doing a education product training series all throughout February into April. There's a link there to register for it. They do this frequently. This is typically like 30-minute sessions that cover an interesting, tool or theme related to using Google tools in schools. They're free, and you can, watch them live, or you can watch the recordings after. Always encourage folks to sign up for those. I think it's a great way to stay on top of things. Next up, coming up this weekend, so this Friday, Thursday and Friday, is SequoiaCon. I am doing the closing keynote for SequoiaCon, so that will be actually Friday evening when it gets around to me, but there's a lot of other amazing things going on throughout those 2 days. It's a totally virtual conference, and there still is a $50 off coupon code there if you are still interested in signing up for that. Next up, Neotech. Hey, I'm going to be presenting at Neotech coming up here in just a couple of weeks. And this is a local conference to Northeast Ohio, but it's worth the drive. If you are able to come and join us, we would love to have you there. It is free registration. Everybody is absolutely encouraged to sign up. Now, keep in mind, this is hybrid. So if you say, hey, I don't live in this area, I can't quite make that trip. It is a hybrid conference, and so the sessions are streamed live on the website as well. This is an absolute must-do. Why would you not sign up for this? A free conference with the ability to attend in person or to attend virtually as well. I will be doing a couple of sessions for this one here as well, but I'm joined by so many amazing educators from all over Ohio who are going to be sharing such great things here for that conference. So thanks to Dan Neeson and everybody there at NeoNet who put this on. It is greatly appreciated. It's a great conference. Dan just put in the chat, not to be too biased, but Neotech is pretty great. So I totally agree with that. You are not being biased there at all. Whoops, let me turn off that and get Dan's comment back up there. Sorry about that. There we go. Excellent. So yes, Dan, thank you so very much for that. All right, wonderful. Anything else to mention here? Let's see in the upcoming events. If you are going to be at McCall, I will be there. That's up in Grand Rapids, Michigan. So some folks from Ohio certainly may be taking a look at that. Again, definitely worth the trip up there. That is another wonderful conference. I've had the chance to be at McCall for several years, and it's been a little while since I've been there, so I'm so excited to be back. Another thing I wanted to get on everybody's radar, I just saw this in an email the other day, a collaboration of AI EDU and the Ohio Educational Service Centers, all the ESCs from around Ohio. They're running some regional AI summits. And so depending upon what corner of the state you're in, there's one in Dayton, Sandusky, Independence, and Cambridge coming up throughout May and then going into August. So these events are going to be day-long conferences focusing on AI. Registration is open. Call for proposals is open. I believe it's they want those in by I think March 9th, I believe. I'm going to be submitting things here myself. I don't recall, but I think the due date was coming up here in the near future here. They were one. Oh, no, hold on, it's by February 29th. Oh my gosh, it's even sooner than I realized. So guess what I'm going to be doing tonight? I thought it was a little bit further out, but it looks like it is coming up here. I'm glad I looked at that. I would have felt really sad. In my brain, somehow, I was thinking that it was like March 9th or something like that, but it is coming up here a little bit quicker than that. So yeah, I would say, hey guys, let's all get our stuff submitted to be a part of those. Brainstorm, this is one's coming up in May. Keep in mind, Brainstorm is more for IT directors, more on the technical end of things, less on curriculum. But if that applies to you, that's a great one, held in Sandusky. And of course, the Spark conference that I help run every year, we are combining with the HEIS conference. So basically, as I mentioned, I technically work for Spark. We're the ITC portion of our organization. HEIS is the High Impact Conference for Educators run by the ESC portion of the Stark County ESC. Well, hey, we're all in one big building and we all got the same goals to help educate teachers. So HEIS and Spark, we are merging. And so this year we are coming together. June 11th and 12th will be the conference, and the call for proposals is open and more details on the website there. If you've ever done Learn 21 in the past, that conference, it is now being rebranded as the EdTech Leaders Alliance Conference, October 20th and 22nd in Columbus. Great conference to be a part of. And hey, for those of you that were wondering where the iTip Google Summit is, typically it's been in the spring. It is now going to be a fall conference. So look for that at the tail end of October. Whoo! That's a lot of stuff. Now, keep in mind, I know some of those things are a little more Ohio-centric. So for those of you that aren't from around here, I realize you can't take advantage of all of those, but certainly there are some there that do include virtual elements as well. And I would definitely encourage you to plug into those that do for sure. Denny, anything you would add to that? That's quite a list of upcoming events. Anything you would add to that?
No, I don't think so. I get to present at SequoiaCon, I think tomorrow. And that's based out of California, I believe. It seems like there's a lot of people from California that are in the conference. I guess it makes sense with SequoiaCon.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, I believe Evergreen AI or Evergreen EDU Education is the group behind it. But yeah, that is a virtual one. So that would be another one that would be available for anybody who would want to plug into. And of course, they are recording all the sessions as well for access later. All right. Good stuff. Well, folks, if you've got anything else to add to the upcoming events, please do so. You can edit and throw in some additional details in there as needed. All right, well, let's move into the main portion of our meeting. So each month, one of the big reasons we get together is to try to catch up on what's new in Google, because Google's always rolling out new products and new features and new updates. And so we do our best to watch for those, add them to this document. We might miss something every now and then, but I hope we're catching most all of those. And so as you scroll down here, you'll see after our January meeting, there were just a couple of things that came out. And then throughout the month of February, it's been a busy month. Lots of things have come out. So what I've done, as I always do, is I've bolded some of the dates here. And those are the ones that I've decided that I'm going to chat about here. So if it's not bolded, I'm going to skip over those ones. But hey, the links are there. You can follow those. If it's something that you're excited about, go ahead and click on them and explore them on your own. Or hey, let us know in the chat if there's something that we're skipping over that you really would like us to talk about. And please, as also, let us know if you've got comments on any of these. We would love to hear from you. What is your take on these? Have you tried out these new features? Are you excited about them? How might you use them? Do you have any tips or tricks? So all throughout this, Denny and I will be doing our best to keep an eye on the chat and seeing if you have any comments or questions related to that. You can put it in the chat, or you can always just drop comments right here inside of the document as well. All right, let's get on into what's new in Google Workspace for Education. So there was just a couple of things after we wrapped up our last meeting, and one of them was that in Google Classroom, they had announced quite a while ago that shareable class templates and classwork would be available. That has now come out of beta. It is now generally available. So everybody should have access to this if it is something that your tier supports. So this is a good time to mention the tiers. Notice I do have little icons, little emojis here to represent the different tiers. If you're using the free version of Google Workspace for Education, I just use the brick, like the building bricks, it's the most basic free version. Standard, Teaching and Learning, and Education Plus are the paid tiers and represented appropriately by those emojis. And if something is, well, I guess Duet AI, I'm going to need to update this because now that's got a new name. It's actually Gemini for Google Workspace. So I guess I might as well fix it while we're looking at it. That's actually one of the updates we'll have to talk about. It's no longer Duet. It's now Gemini for Google Workspace. And so we'll have to make those changes there. But let's talk about this first one. So yes, basically what has happened is now actually, they've got really nice little GIFs here to show. Basically, the idea is this. If you have a Google Classroom and if you have the Plus tier of the Google for Workspace suite, one thing you can do now is you can share content that you create in Google Classroom with others. Now, what that means is other people can make a copy of your content. They're not going to see your students' grades. They're not going to see your students' work. No, nothing like that. We're just talking about the raw content, the lessons, the documents, the instructions, the assignments, nothing from what the students have completed. But the idea is, this could be really helpful. Let's say somebody in the curriculum department or somebody, in the math department or whatever the case might be, they could actually set up a classroom and fill it up with loads and loads and loads and loads of pre-made lessons and resources and materials, and then basically share it out and say, hey, everybody, here is this class we've put together with great, templates to get you started for, the year. And now, once you send that link out, let's look at the other end of it. Here's the other animated GIF they put together here for us. On the other end, somebody goes, oh, hey, awesome. They click on the link, and now they can browse through the whole thing and say, you know what? I want to use that entire unit. I want to use that particular lesson. I want to use that one material, whatever it is. They select what they want, and then after they select it, they say they want to export it from that template into their own classes. So at that point, they pick, hey, I want to drop it into my English 1 class or whatever the case would be. They go ahead and export it. And what it does is it creates a draft copy of that in Classroom. So it doesn't go live. It just puts it in there as a draft. You still need to go in and officially make it go live. But this is great. I mean, I could see this as a really great way to say, here is our, grade 9 English template course that, all of the valuable resources could be put into, and then all of the grade 9 English teachers would have access to it. And as needed, they could just cherry pick out of it the particular items that they would like to make copies of and use. Now, it doesn't have to be that. It could actually be the class you're teaching. It doesn't have to be some, intentionally set aside template course. It could just be, oh no, I did this really cool activity in my math class and I just want to share it with my other math teachers. And this is an easy way for them to be able to do that. So nice stuff. Excited to see that rolling out. Again, keep in mind though, that is for the plus tier for that. All right, let's keep on going. So we get into February now, and there's going to be quite a bit of AI stuff. It is sort of broken up throughout here through the dates. So be aware we're going to be staying chronologically as we work down through here. Sometimes I think maybe I should rearrange this thematically. I don't know. Maybe I will at some point. But at the moment, we're still doing this chronologically. So we will be touching on AI in bits and pieces throughout this. The first one on February 1st was an update saying that at that time, Bard, which we know is no longer Bard. We'll find out very shortly that, yes, it is now Gemini. But at that point, it was Bard. Bard got an update. And that update was basically twofold. One of the big updates was the large language model behind it that was powering it became the Gemini Pro language model. So I don't know if you follow all the, the behind the scenes things of what is running these AI tools. But with Bard, when it first came out, like last February, like a whole year ago, it was being run by a large language model called Lambda. And then they upgraded that to Palm 2, and now they've upgraded it to Gemini Pro. So the brains behind it, the actual large language model that's powering what was Bard, became Gemini Pro. So basically a massive leap forward in power. So if you've used Bard in the past and you're like, it was okay, but it wasn't that great. It got some things wrong, and I don't know, I wasn't, all that impressed. Please, please, please try it again. It has come so far from where it was when it came out a year ago. In the year, what they're up to now with Gemini Pro, it is a very robust, very fast, very powerful large language model. So that was one of the things they mentioned. Another thing they mentioned in here is that they added image generation into that. Now, we're going to talk a little bit more about image generation here in a little bit, but I think I can show you real quick what that looks like. So I'll just pull over my Gemini, which again was Bard, now it's Gemini, my Gemini personal account here. And let's say I drop in a prompt saying, hey, I want you to create a picture of a sunrise over a mountain. So basically now we can actually ask for an image to be generated within it. And so here we go. Now I didn't tell it what kind of picture I wanted. So I'm getting, quite a wide range of styles here. I mean, I could have specified, photographic or watercolor or something like that. But in this case, I just kept it very general there. And you're seeing I'm getting some nice quick images there showing a sunrise over some mountains. That's very nice. And then for any one of these, of course, I could download any one of these. And when you do, heads up, then it does it at a high resolution. So this is just like a little thumbnail version of it. If I said I wanted to download that, it takes a little bit of time because now it's doing a full size, download. And then I could go ahead and say, hey, let's go ahead and save that. And I could save that off. And then once I've got that saved off, let me see if I can open it up. There it is. And you see how nice. That's a really nice nice version of it, a higher res version that gets downloaded there. So, so that was, and I'll pull that back off the screen there. Those were some of the updates that they mentioned in that one. A lot more to come, so hang tight. We're not done with Bard / Gemini, so we will have to we will revisit that. So Denny, I see you asked a question in the chat. Yeah, I used to do a session called the Bard's Tale. So one of my sessions on AI was about Google tools. Now, not everybody, I realized later, is familiar with what the Bard's Tale was. If you weren't, the Bard's Tale was a video game. So there it is, the Bard's Tale. So the Bard's Tale was a video game series that I used to play when I was probably in my 20s, when it was a very, very basic one. They've improved it greatly over the years, but it was a fantasy role-playing adventure type game there. And so I thought when Google called their AI tool Bard, that would be a fun name for my session. So yeah, it was called the Bard's Tale, Google AI tools for education or something like that. Well, yeah, right. As we're going to see here, it has now been renamed to Gemini. So I'm no longer using that title. I don't have a good replacement yet. I'm just calling it a very boring title at the moment. It's something like just Google AI tools for education. So I need to think about that. I'm not sure, but Google seems to have really committed to the Gemini name now. So I do need to come up with a. So hey, I'm taking suggestions. If anybody has a good suggestion for a new name for that session. All right. Still with AI, but a slightly different topic. Let's move on to the next entry here. Try ImageFX and MusicFX, our newest generative AI tools in labs. So Google has been rolling out these FX tools, they call them. I know we've talked about text FX before. I know we've talked about that one. So we won't go through that again. Basically, text FX allows you to choose 10 different tools that can help you generate text for creative inspiration when you're writing, whether it's analogies or alliteration or point of view. So it's a tool to help encourage creative writing. And I believe we have talked about that one before. I don't know, though, if we've mentioned the other two. So they had some pretty big updates to ImageFX and MusicFX. So ImageFX is basically a text to image generator. If you want to do it more in this playground sort of a model, I'll just click I'm feeling lucky and just let it generate something here for us rather than typing my own in there. So yes, I can go to Gemini and I can ask Gemini to create an image for me. This is very, very similar to that. But what's different about this is it's a little bit more of a, let's say, a playground feature. And what I mean by that is whatever you put in here, it gives you these little drop-down chips where you can get ideas for how you might want to change a prompt and realize, oh, you know what? I could say, let's do this same prompt, but let's make it 3D rendering or photorealistic painting or digital art. Let's try another one here. We'll do another I'm feeling lucky. Oh, how about this? Vector art axolotl with the words axolotl below. Oh, okay. I'm curious to see how well it spells. Sometimes AI struggles with words. So I'm really curious how well it handles axolotl. Oh my gosh, it did a good job. That's really nice, actually. So it did vector art of axolotl with the words axolotl below. So there he is. There's the axolotl. And we've got a couple of versions of it. That's not bad. I'm actually pretty impressed by that. But the point is now we could say instead of vector art, I want this to be an oil painting or a watercolor painting. Or instead of the words below, I want, of course, it wouldn't probably make sense. I think words makes the most sense in this case. But I could come in and say, oh, that's great. Let's switch this over to a watercolor painting, and then I could have it regenerate it now based on that. So I guess what I like about this tool is I think it's helpful if you're learning how to prompt an image generation tool. Like, I don't know what to type in. I don't really know exactly what I should tell it. Oh, there we go. We now have they didn't do the words axolotl, though. It looks like in this case, we just got the watercolor. But honestly, that's very nice. I'm not even upset about it. That's a very nice looking one. And of course, you can download all of these as well. But the point is, this is a neat way to get inspired by, what could a prompt look like? And then after you do get the generation going in and using those drop-down chips to tweak it and go, oh, I could change that. I could redo my prompt. So think of this as more of like an experimental playground to learn more about image generation, and the things you learn from it, you can apply to Dolly, or you can apply to Bing Image Creator, you can apply to Gemini, or any of the myriad of image generation tools out there. The other one was MusicFX. And again, it's not new. That one's been around. I don't know if we've talked about it or not, but they did some updates to that as well. Very similar idea. If I click I'm feeling lucky, we're going to get ambient, soft sounding music I can study to, and it's going to generate some music over here for us. Once that generates, it should start playing. And I think I shared the audio, so you're probably I'll pause that. You're probably hearing that audio as that's coming through. So it generates an audio clip. You can change the length of that clip from 30 to 70 seconds. You can also come in and again tweak those chips to say, I want this to be ambient, dreamy, experimental, ethereal, to study, to work, to relax, to party, or I want to change the slider on how soft the music is. They have added the new thing, and that's DJ mode. So DJ mode allows you to not just do a 30-second or 70-second clip. It will do up to I think it's an hour. I think maybe it's 2 hours. Hold on, let me remind myself. It is up to 60 minutes. Okay, so it's up to 60 minutes. So you can come in and say, hey, let's turn on DJ mode here. In this case, I could hit play, it'll start doing that. And then what I could do is I could slide these sliders to adjust the song as it goes. I could add up to 10 prompts total and basically make my own DJ music and adjust it all throughout the time for a solid hour of music getting generated there. So kind of nifty. So ImageFX and MusicFX got some nice updates there recently. Let me pause for a second because I definitely saw some activity over in the chat here. Let me see. Donna is suggesting the gym and AI. Oh my gosh, Donna, that's so good. That is the best title. I love that. The Gym and AI, Gemini. Oh my gosh. That is fantastic. Donna, you get all the points today. I think you have given me the new title for my session. That is, I don't know. That's I'm just so happy. I'm so happy to see that. Let me see. Oh, and then Ryan. Hey, Ryan, thanks for being here today. Ryan, great friend. Love Ryan. If you guys don't know Ryan, you've got to connect with Ryan. He produces such good content. Just a shameless plug for Ryan real quick. He creates a newsletter that goes out frequently where he shares all of his tips and tricks and things he's come across. I never fail to pick up some good ideas. There's always something good in there from Ryan. Ryan, feel free to drop a link into your resources in the chat if you would like to, or whatever's the best way to point people to how they could get signed up for the stuff you put out. But Ryan says whenever he sees the word Gemini, he's haunted by the astronauts in the Gemini program pronouncing like Gemini, because that's how they used to pronounce it. And you're right, Ryan. I remember watching some movies, even some modern movies that do a retelling of that, and Gemini is being used as the pronunciation for that. So that's really that's absolutely true. All right, good stuff. Good stuff. Let's keep on moving. The gym in AI. Oh, that's so good. That's just so good. All right, let's keep on moving here. All right, what's up next? So next up, little Google Meet update. This is a nice one. So basically the ability to pin people, but to pin people to pin multiple people and to do it for other people to see. Okay, so let's explain what I mean by all this. So here's the idea. Pinning is not new. We've had pinning in Google Meet forever. Basically, pinning somebody just means you click on them, you hit pin, and you say, I want to just see that person. I want to pin their tab so that they take up the screen and I can see them talking, et cetera, et cetera. So that's not new. We've had that. Here's the thing. It used to be you could only pin people for yourself. What that means is when you pin somebody, it doesn't change anybody else's view. Nobody else just sees that person. That's just, it pins it for you. Well, now, if you're one of the hosts, if you are the presenter, you're the host, if it is your meet, when you go to pin somebody, you have the option to say, I want to pin this for the attendees as well. So if you do that, you could say, I want everybody in the meet to just focus on this particular person. But you can do multiple people can be pinned. It's not just one person. You can pin up to 3 tiles. So I could say we've got a panel discussion. I'm going to pin, person A, person B, and person C. And now everybody in the meet is seeing just those 3 people. They're getting highlighted. Everybody else is going off to the side. Keep in mind, end users are always allowed to unpin. So you can't force it to stay that way, but you can give them the initial setup with them being pinned. So this could also be really great if you had like maybe a sign language interpreter. Maybe you're pinning somebody speaking and you're pinning the sign language interpreter next to them so that everybody can see that as well throughout the Meet. So pretty neat option in Google Meet. Glad they have rolled that out. What's up next? Oh, and that one's for everybody. That one is all different versions of Google Meet. So I'm always happy when I see all the emojis here. That's not always the case. Sometimes yes, sometimes no, but that's great to see that we can. Maybe I should have mentioned that and I feel bad. Maybe I shouldn't have skipped over this one. I'll just say it real quick. Pinning chat messages also. I should have mentioned that. This is available for everybody as well. And what this means is, I don't know if this has happened to you, where you get into a Google Meet and there's a message that was, mentioned, and then it gets lost as the continual scroll of new messages come in. You can now pin important messages so that you don't lose track of those in Google Meet. All right, let's keep on going. Next up, we've got more AI, back to Google Gemini. So basically, this was where Google said, even just a couple days after they said, hey, Bard is now powered by Gemini, 1 week later, they said, oh yeah, Bard, let's just call it Gemini. And so basically, that's what you're getting here in these two blog posts. Basically, Google saying, hey, we are now going to call anything AI related from Google, it's just going to be Gemini. That's basically what it's going to be. We're going to call it Gemini. Well, one of the things they mentioned in this was rolling out Gemini Advanced. So, and I'll show you here. Let me pull my screen back over. So you may have noticed when I was using Gemini a moment ago, mine said Gemini Advanced at the top. Those are now the two different versions of Gemini. So if you're using Gemini, just regular, that is the free version. If you're using Gemini Advanced, that is the paid version. Now there's, a couple of different ways to get that paid version. At the moment, full disclosure, I'm not paying for it at the moment. I'm a trusted tester, so I do get access to it because I'm helping test the product. So just heads up. But having said that, if I wasn't and I wanted to have it, it would be a $20 a month cost. That's very standard for large language models. It would be similar to ChatGPT 3.5 is the free version. That's what Gemini free version is. And then ChatGPT 4.0, the paid version, which is $20 a month, is Gemini Advanced. So if you want to compare this, that's the idea. Gemini is now like ChatGPT 3.5. Gemini Advanced is like ChatGPT 4. And so that's the big, difference there. And with, of course, much more power in Gemini Advanced, a more powerful engine in the background, and lots more features coming to that soon. So, and we'll talk a little bit more about those as we go. And of course, just the general announcement that, hey, we're not calling it Bard anymore. And Eric has to, rename everything. so that's what, and they rolled out some apps as well, iOS and Android apps to chat with Gemini. So that was one of the other big updates. We got a few more. We're not done with Gemini. It's going to pop back up here again. So we will see a couple more as we keep going through this. All right, next up, this one is just kind of fun, but you know what? I thought it was cute and educational, so we're going to talk about it. On February 14th, on Valentine's Day, the Google Doodle was this really clever Google Doodle where basically you are pretending that you're doing a dating app, but with elements of the periodic table. So it's kind of cute, and they named it the Cupid Google Doodle using copper and lead as the elemental symbols there. So basically, you come in here to play this, and what you can do is you can start by taking a quiz to figure out what element you are. And then after you figure out what element you are, you decide, do you actually match with others? And so this is scientific. Does this element bond with these other elements? Yes or no? So you'd start by taking the quiz, being like, okay, how would you describe yourself? I go with the flow. I'm not too hard to find. I pump the occasional iron. I'd like a cozy cottage. I have a tight inner circle, whatever the case. And it's going to say, oh, then you're fluorine, So basically it's using your answers to find an element that goes along with a lot of those things that it had mentioned there. So now I'm learning. So step one, I'm learning about fluorine. I'm learning about an element based upon the things that I answered. But then step two, you hit start bonding. And now what it's going to do is it's going to say, okay, would you bond with nitrogen? Can fluorine bond with nitrogen? And so I can learn all about nitrogen and how it works. And so I could say, is this the kind of an element that's going to bond with it? If I say yes or no, it'll then let me know. So I don't actually, I'm not sure. I'll say yes. Oh, and it is. Okay, good. So fluorine and nitrogen do bond. So now you say, let's combine them. You hold down the combine button and here they go. And they have bonded. And now we learn about nitrogen monofluoride, which is what happens when you bond the two. And so now we're learning chemistry. And then we go on and say, okay, let's keep swiping. Does it bond with argon? I mean, again, I'm not sure. I'll say yes. Oh, and it does. That's fantastic. And so now we combine argon and fluorine and we get argon fluoride and we learn about that. So not everything bonds, of course. I love this. It's so cute, but it also teaches chemistry. You are learning about properties of elements and how elements bond. So isn't that the coolest thing? I absolutely love it. So just had to mention that and to encourage people maybe play around with that in science. Kristen said she loved that Google Doodle. I agree as well. So that was a shout out from Kristen there. That's fantastic. Love it, love it, love it, love it. All right. Katura did have a question about pricing on Gemini. Hang tight. We're going to explain that. She says she got a quote from the reseller. It was $32 per license. That is Gemini Workspace. I'll do my best to explain the tangled pricing structure that is Gemini now. What I was referring to, apologies, I went through that so quick earlier. We'll do a little deeper dive. I was talking about the consumer access. So this is the consumer version of Gemini, $20 a month for Gemini Advanced. Which does include a Google One subscription as well, which gives you 2 terabytes of drive storage and lots of other bells and whistles as well. But no, this is, apologies, this is personal Gmail account kind of stuff. So this is not school pricing for Gemini Advanced. We will explain that shortly. So hang tight. We are getting there very quickly, but I appreciate Katura asking about that. We will come back around to that. All right. All right. Good stuff. Good stuff. What's up next? Duet AI. Well, again, it's not Duet anymore, but it was at the moment when they posted this, I guess. The Duet AI side panel starting to appear in Gmail, Google Drive, and Docs. So here's the thing. Remember I said, hey, if you pay on a personal account to get Gemini Advanced, you get some extra bells and whistles. Well, some of those include things like the ability to use that AI tool inside of other Google products. So like, for example, here is a Google Doc I have on the Boston Tea Party, just blah, 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 some information here. Well, notice, look up here in the top corner. I've got a little Gemini button up there inside of my Google Docs. So I can come up and give a click on that. And that pops open this, where I can, and actually let me refresh it because I had just used it earlier. I'll let it start fresh. I had just been chatting with it. So I'll do a fresh start chat. There we go. So what it does is it reads through the document and it generates a summary of the document for me. And then I can come down here and I can chat with it. I can ask it all kinds of things. I could say, well, here's some suggestions, add a sentence or two for more context, add a brief explanation, revise this sentence, create images, write another paragraph, suggest ways to improve the document, elaborate, fix spelling and grammar, create an outline, provide an opposite argument. You get the idea. So I could say like, hey, create an outline on this. And so now it's going to read through this whole thing and it's now going to create an outline over here on the side. And once it does, if I like it, I could just insert that outline, into there. I could see, be like, oh, hey, that's a pretty good outline there. I like what you did. Awesome. Let's hit insert. And now it's dropping that right into there. So basically what we're getting is the full power of Gemini that I could access through the regular Gemini chat tool, but baked inside of my Google Workspace tools. So inside of Docs and Slides and Sheets, inside of Gmail, inside of Google Drive, inside of Google Meet. And so that is part of what you get as with that $20 a month thing. It's not just access to the Gemini Advanced Chat. It's the 2 terabytes of storage in Drive. It's the integration of the Gemini tools inside of your Workspace programs as well. So heads up, that was what that was about, that the side panel has started to roll out for that as well. All right, so I think this is finally the last thing we're going to talk about Gemini here, because I think maybe not. Nope. Nope. Still some more. Maybe in the future, maybe I should just rearrange these by topic, because I feel like we're kind of starting and stopping so many times. But we'll stay chronological this time. Okay, so the next thing Gemini related is like what a week after they said, hey, everything's Gemini now, they said, guess what? We're testing our new Gemini model. So this was Gemini 1.0 that they announced on February 8th. On the 15th, they said, guess what? We're in the middle of testing Gemini 1.5. This is going to be our next model. So it's just like with ChatGPT. When it came out, it was, ChatGPT 3.0, and then 3.5, and then 4.0. And of course, they're working on ChatGPT 4.5, 5. I don't know what the next jump up is going to be, what they're going to call it. Well, Google's doing the same thing. They're already hard at work on Gemini 1.5, their next big step up, and they are testing it. It is functional. I don't know when we're going to get it. I don't know how soon. I would say within the next few months, probably. They'll say, hey, it's no longer Gemini 1.0. Now it's 1.5. So what makes 1.5 better? I will not go through all of the details here. I'll just point out a couple of things that caught my attention. So one of the really big things about 1.5, of course, yes, it's more powerful, it's faster, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Sure. One of the big things is something we call context window. So I don't know if I can open this up in a new tab so you can see it better. If not, that's okay. I may not be able to. No, that's fine. We'll just look at it here, but I'll explain it. So context window, that is how much text the model can process at one time. So for example, Gemini 1.0 has a 32K context window, which is about 24,000 words or so. ChatGPT 4.0 Turbo has a 128K context window. It can process about 100,000 words at once. Claude is at 200K, so that's about 175,000 words. The point is, the amount of the context window is how much it can read and reply to at one time. I don't know if you've ever hit a limit. I've hit limits sometimes. I've used these tools and I went and I pasted in this gigantic thing of text and it ran out of space. I couldn't paste it all in because I hit the end of the context window. It could only handle so much at one time. Well, Gemini, here's the crazy thing. It's a 1 million token context window, which is about 700,000 words. That is like just so big. It's hard to wrap my brain around. So basically you could paste, an entire novel or several novels, into the context window, and it could process all of that information at one time. But here's the thing, Gemini is not just about text, it's multimodal. So that means you could give it an hour of video, you could give it 11 hours of audio, you could give it 30,000 lines of code. And so it can process video, audio, code, words, up to, like we said, 1 million tokens worth. Now they've tested it up to 10 million tokens, but they're running it at 1 million on the normal day-to-day basis. And it's very accurate. What they found is that, it can still find a needle in a haystack. Sometimes that's a problem when you get a big context window. It can look at all the text, but it has a hard time processing it. They've been able to give it, challenges where it has to find one itty bitty little thing in there, and it is able to do it very well. So That's a massive step forward. We don't have it yet. They just were announcing it, saying, hey, it's coming. So it's really neat to see what's on the horizon with the next version of Gemini that we're going to be getting. So pretty snazzy. All right. Let's see what is up next. How about this? Creating more immersive presentations in Google Slides. All right, what's this all about? Now, this is a plus one. Heads up, got to give a fair warning before you get too excited. This is for Education Plus. But basically, what this is the ability to add yourself as a video inside of your slideshows. So let me show you. Let me try this out. Let me pull over a slideshow here. So here's the slideshow I've got on glaciers that I've used as an example here before. What I have now is the ability to click on this new button here, the speaker spotlight button. And when I click on it, it gives me this panel on the side where I can add these little shapes depending upon what shape I want my video to be. Like I'll do this teardrop shape. I can now move this around anywhere I want on the slide, make it bigger, make it smaller, whatever. The point is, when I go to run the slideshow, my video, my webcam will fill that spot. Now, when I go to the next slide, if there's nothing there, well, then no, I'm not going to show up. I'm just going to show up only on the slides where I add this. So on this slide, I wouldn't want to cover this anyway. So I might do a different shape, and I might put like a, rounded rectangle and put it more down at the bottom where I'm not getting in the way of things. And don't even have to. I could have slides that have no speaker spotlight. I don't have to include that. But let's say I did. I've got it on this one and I've got it on this one. Well, now that I've done that, if I go ahead and run this, let's run the slideshow. It's going to say, hey, do you want to use your camera while you're doing this? And I'll say, you bet I do. And there we go. Here it comes. And there I am. Hey, everybody. And so while I'm giving my presentation, now I'm popping up there in the top. And when I move on to the next slide, hey, I'm now down here at the bottom, And so it basically embeds my video right inside of there. Now you have to kind of think ahead of time when you're designing your slides to make sure that your slides have a spot where it would be reasonable for you to be. You might want to move a few things around to give a little room, or maybe you don't want to do it on every slide. But pretty neat option there to be able to do that. We will go ahead though, and we will exit out of that. Awesome. And it does also work if you record your slideshow as well. It will record the speaker spotlight as part of it. So pretty nifty, pretty nifty. All right, good stuff. What else do we have here? Let me see. Denny, did you have a question? Sorry.
Well, there are a couple questions popping up in the chat.
Oh,
Dan,
I do see you are right. There are some. Yeah.
Yeah, they're popping up quick now.
Yeah. So Dan asked, I'm sorry, I hit Dan first here. Dan said, is Notebook LM using Gemini? Good question, Dan. I am not totally sure, but I would imagine that's the case. If I pull up Notebook LM, I've talked about it here before, how you can basically create a notebook where you can upload 20 files. Those files can include PDFs, text, files from your drive. Each file can have up to 200,000 words in it. So that's massive. I mean, good grief, that's a ton of content. And you can basically upload your own files, and then you can chat with the AI about your files. I can only imagine that it would be using Gemini in the background because, it would have been using, Lambda, then Palm 2 previously. Good question. Let me see if there's anything that tells me, is it, because I know they did an upgrade here. I wonder if they mention anywhere it now having Gemini as the background source. So apologies, Dan. I don't know. I can't imagine it not being Gemini though. That is now the status quo. That is what Google is using in all of their AI tools. So my guess is that Notebook LM is using Gemini and not Palm 2, which is what it was using before. But if somebody else can do a little poke a stick at it and figure that out for us, that would be wonderful. I'm sorry, I don't have that answer off the top of my head there on that one. Let's see what else popped up here. So Katura said, how is this different from the new record feature? Oh, you're talking about with the slideshow. Yeah, sorry about that. I probably shouldn't have closed out of it so quickly. Let me pull that back up. Sorry about that. So yeah, the record feature, that is to save a video recording of the actual presentation. So what I just did here by saying I just want to add in my camera inside of this and then run the slideshow, none of that's getting recorded. It's just while I'm doing the presentation, you can see me. There is no recording going on there. But this option over here, this record button to view and create a recorded slideshow, if I do that, at that point now I could hit record and I could start not just doing the speaker spotlight, but I could record a video of it as well. That way, when it's all done, I've got a video that I could, share out with folks. So I apologize. I know I closed it out of that really quickly and I wasn't very clear on that. So thanks for asking that clarifying question. I appreciate it. Let me see. Ryan saying it's really cool. Wishes it was in fundamentals. Ryan, I feel you, man, and I agree. There's so many great tools that unfortunately are part of the paid tiers. I understand. I get it. Google has to make money and all that, but it's still a tough pill to swallow a lot of times. Yeah, gotcha. All right, let's see if there's anything else that we've got to touch on. Do students have access to the recording feature? I don't know. I have not played around with that. So if somebody wants to check, Ryan is suggesting it's probably in the admin console. I would assume so as well. I apologize. I have not actually poked a stick at it to see that. My guess is if we jumped into the admin console and went into the Google Drive settings, we may be able to find it in there to see if it's something you turn on and off for the end users. Let's see, anything else there? Denny, you were saying you like how you can put it where you want it. I do too. It's slick. Karen says the students do have access to the record feature. So it is either available by default or it's something that can be turned on. Thank you, Karen, for giving us some confirmation on that. Appreciate that. See, that's the thing. The smartest person in the room, it's the room. That's why we do this. It's all of us together. As a whole group, between all of us, we will figure this stuff out. So great. All right, let's keep on going. We've got some more updates here. We're getting close to the end. Trust me, the end is in sight. It was a busy month, though. It really was. So let's keep on moving. Next up, some updates to comments. So when it comes to comments in Google Docs and slides, don't worry, nothing's going away. You're not losing anything in comments, just a new option to be able to pop between the different modes of your comments from your view menu. So let me show you what I mean. Let me grab an older GEG Ohio agenda. Here's one from back in October where we have some comments. So here's some comments over here, here's some comments over there, etc. Here's the big change. Again, this is not a earth-shattering thing. I just don't want you to not be aware of this. Now, if you go up to the view menu and you go to comments, you've got 4 options. You can toggle between 4 different options for comments. I'm currently on the expand comments option, which basically shows the comments in full view next to the spot where the comment got added. I kind of think of that as the default. To me, I think of that as the standard default view. But if I come here, I can choose minimize comments instead. What does that do? It just puts these little icons there to say, hey, there is a comment there. Now, if I hover above it, I can see it, but I don't see it until I hover above it. That could be really useful if there's a lot of comments that you're trying to manage. There is, of course, also the option to say I want to hide comments, and you just don't see them. They just don't show up at all. And then, of course, there's the option to say I want to show all the comments. You may say, well, Eric, didn't we already see all of them? No, remember, you can have comments that get resolved and they get hidden away. So show all comments opens up a panel where we can see every comment that was ever made on that document, of which many of them probably got resolved at some point. There's also a for you section if there's some comments that you specifically need to address that are addressed to you. So just wanted to give you a heads up that that is now available, that ability to jump between these different comment viewing modes. Good stuff. Next up, since we were talking about slides earlier, let's go ahead and talk a little bit more about slides. The ability to drag and drop an image to replace the background. So you can check out the blog post if you want, but I'm just going to go ahead and demonstrate it with the one we were just doing right now. So let me grab that Glaciers one. Let's say I want to change the background. This is a very nice background. I don't know why I would want to change it, but let's say I want to change the background. In the past, it was a little bit complicated. You had to get an image, download the image, then you had to go to the background option, then you had to say, I want to pick the image, you would grab it, upload it. Yeah, I mean, it could be done, but it was a little bit of jumping through hoops. Now, if I say I want to insert an image and I search the web to find an image, so let's say I'm looking for a glacier. Let's go ahead and put that in. And so now I could pick any of these glacier images that I think are going to be nice here. And then what I can do is I can simply, if I'm careful, click on it, hold on it, and when I drag it over, if I get it right on the edge, notice as soon as I touched the edge of the slide, I got this border that went all the way around suddenly. That means if I let go right now, boom, it's going to replace the background. So it's doing the entire background, replacement thing. In the past, I'd have to download the image, upload the image, all that kind of stuff. Now I can just grab, drag, get it to the edge, let go, and boom, there we go. It has now replaced that background with that. So that's nice. It's a nice, quick, shortcut way to be able to replace your background. Saves a little bit of time there. All right, good stuff, good stuff, good stuff. Let's keep on moving. Give me a moment to close out of that. All right, see if there's anything else that has popped up before I keep going here. Looking here in the chat, Sarah said, holy moly, will this replace Screencastify type products? Certainly, we're getting more and more and more options for recording. Denny, you said your students have access to it as well. Is that correct?
Yes, they do.
Excellent. All right. And then, of course, you mentioned about Chrome OS. Absolutely. There are so many good screen capture things. Did you want to mention anything about the screen capture options that are built into Chrome OS?
Well, it is available in I forget what you call it, the shelf option in the off to the right-hand side. It should be just right there as like a button. You hit screen capture and it's pretty basic. As far as compared to Screencastify, the one difference or a couple differences I would see is that you can edit with Screencastify, and I don't believe you can with screen capture, but you could always bring it to another tool that could do that. And as far as questions, like Screencastify, you can add questions. Google Classroom, if you pull in YouTube videos, so if you upload that video to YouTube, you could add the questions to the YouTube video.
Absolutely.
Sense. So there's ways around it, I think.
Absolutely. Yeah. So what I might direct people to, see if I can bring it up fast enough. Thank you, Denny, for sharing that. Let me pull up my Chromebook document here. So this is the session that I do on Chromebook tips and tricks. So it's Chromebooks can do that. And we cover a lot of those things that Denny has done a great job there of mentioning. I will drop the link directly into the chat if that's more convenient for people. But basically, this is a session where I talk about all the cool things Chromebooks do. And it includes, we cover things like using the screen capture tool, the screen recorder tool to record your screen, but then also going into the new screencast tool that goes even beyond that. Do note this is not just a document. On page 2 is the slideshow. You can view it or you can make a copy of the slideshow. The slideshow goes into more visual representations of this. So if we pop on up here, like you can see, here's the section where we talk about the screen capture and recorder, and then we get into screencast. Screencast is very similar to the screen capture and recorder, except that it also, in addition to recording your screen, recording your webcam, recording your voice, it also lets you annotate. You can draw on the screen while you're recording, and it generates a transcript of the recording that the viewer can translate into any language they want. And it does let you edit the screencast by editing the transcript. You can skip portions of the transcript to cut out portions of the video. So screencast is just included on Chromebooks. It's not an extra download. There's nothing to download. It's just an app that's built into Chromebooks. If you want to go a little further than just the regular screen recorder, screencast gives you some of those additional features that are really nice. So good to be aware of there. All right. Let's keep soldiering on. We're doing well, folks. That brings us up to, so here we go. This is to answer Katura's question earlier. You were asking about pricing. So these next 3 here all deal with the whole Gemini change that we're seeing and the different pricing models. So short thing I want to say, first of all, is some of the things we're going to look at here, they have not yet rolled out to education. Some of these have only rolled out to business, but they say clearly in these that they will be giving education options soon. So I would encourage you, please take a look at these in full. We're not going to go into really great depth right now into these, but what I want to explain is what they're doing is they're rolling out 2 versions of what used to be called Duet AI. So again, I get to change all my stuff again. So Duet AI, I actually just did a blog post on this. So now I feel like, oh my gosh, I'm going to have to go and change all of that. So that one was back in January. I did this blog post about what is Google Duet AI. And so this was that whole, video interview I did and this deep dive into Duet AI. This is the one where you mentioned a cost of $32 per month or something like that. So this is what was called Duet AI. And basically it was the ability to use Google AI tools inside of a workspace account, not a personal Google account, but a workspace account. And we talked about all the different things it can do, like how it can summarize Drive files, and it can help you write inside of docs, and it can generate content in slides, and it can generate things in Sheets and Gmail and Google Meet and on and on and on. And the idea was, the pricing I had, at least at that time, was that if you paid for an entire year at once, it was $30 per month. If you paid month by month, it was $32 per month. There's no limit, no minimum. So you could just buy 5. Say, we're going to buy 5 licenses and let 5 people test this out. You don't have to do it for your entire domain. You can just do it for a handful of people. When I shared all of this, at that time, my big hesitancy was, it's so early. They haven't rolled out all the bells and whistles yet, might not justify the price yet, but give it some time. They've got a lot more that they're rolling out. Well, okay, that is where we were. Now, where are we at now? What has happened now? So basically what has happened now is they're saying, okay, remember that Duet thing? Okay, we're not calling it that anymore. So here, I'll zoom in so you can see this a little bit better. They're basically saying that's now called Gemini Enterprise. So the thing we were calling Duet AI, that is now Gemini Enterprise. And that gives all of those things we were just talking about there, working inside of Docs and Meet and all of that kind of stuff. Okay. Then they said, we're also going to now offer Gemini Business. And this is going to be a subset of Enterprise. So it's a smaller version of that. And it is going to not have all the bells and whistles of this. It's going to basically be a lot like chatting with Gemini on a if you like my one that I'll pull it back over. When I was doing this, it's kind of like Gemini Advanced here. If you are paying for this as a personal Gmail account, it's kind of like that version of it. So it doesn't have all of the bells and whistles, but it allows you to chat with Gemini. It gives you, some integration into the Google products. The difference in pricing, I believe, is, here we go. Let me zoom in here so I can find this for you. Here's the difference here. So Gemini Business, the subset, they're talking as low as $20 a month with an annual commitment. Whereas Gemini Enterprise, that was the one where it was more of the $30 per month. So we're looking at about a $10 a month savings there. Having said that, they mentioned here near the bottom about education. Let me find it. Sorry, guys. Sorry, trying to find it. There we go. We're working to bring Gemini for Workspace to our education customers, and we look forward to sharing more about this in the coming weeks. So, what does all of this mean? I know. So basically what this means is you've got so many options for how you might choose to use AI. Let's say we're just talking about school accounts. Let's totally forget about personal accounts for a moment. Let's say I'm using a Workspace account. One option I have is literally to just say, I want to use Gemini and I don't want to pay a penny for it. That's fine. You literally can just go to gemini.google.com. This is my work account. This is my Spark account. I can just chat with Gemini. I can use Gemini for free, just like a regular Gmail account would use it, as long as in the admin console, as long as you've enabled it, as long as you've turned it on for your users, anybody 18 and above is allowed to just use it. So you do not have to spend a penny. You can just use Gemini with your school account. No questions asked. Boom, there you go. You've got it. You're good to go. Or you could pay $20 a month for what they're calling Gemini Business, which I don't know what it'll be called for education. Or you can spend $30 a month for what they call Gemini Enterprise. Each of these which go further. Now, how do they go further? Here's one of the things. What makes these? Why would anybody pay for that? Here's one of the first things. Think about privacy. If I'm using this free version of Gemini, everything I type in here is fair game for Google to use to train the next model. That's part of the usage agreement. If you're using the free version of ChatGPT, same thing. If I'm using the free version of Gemini, or I should say personal, not just free. If you're using even the paid version of ChatGPT, but you're using the personal version of it, then yes, if you are using ChatGPT personal, if you're using Gemini personal, which is what this is, anything I type in here can be used to train future models. That is what this is all about. Gemini Enterprise and Business does not do that. Anything you type in, even if you go to the regular Gemini interface, you're now on the business version or the enterprise version of it. Nothing you type in can ever be used to train future models. So it's protecting the privacy of the information you're putting in there. It is not going out and getting mixed in with anything else. That's critical. So ChatGPT is doing the same thing. They have an enterprise version for businesses. It's exactly the same idea that if you don't want your information getting used for future trainings, enterprise people, businesses can pay for that. So that's one of the reasons you would do that. The other thing is all of the other integrations. So like being able to use it inside of Docs and Meet and all those kind of things. So if those other benefits are worth it for you, then yes, that's what that's all going to be. All right. I hope I didn't make it worse. I hope that helped. But basically, that's the big picture of what we're looking at there. Give it a little bit of time, though, because we are expected to get education specific details on how these changes are going to be coming to us in the coming weeks. All right, there you go. So please let me know if you got questions or comments on any of that, but I hope that helped to at least confuse you on a higher level than you were before. All right, so this is it. We're down to 3 things. Woohoo! We're down to our last 3. We're almost there. So next up, still a little bit more AI stuff. Chrome now has an AI feature to help you write on the web. I think this is not for school yet. I've only been able to get this to work on my personal Gmail account. I have not yet been able to get this to work with my Spark account. If somebody knows a button I'm missing, let me know. But let me explain what this is. So this is basically building AI directly into Chrome itself. Meaning, if I am in the middle of writing on anything, an email, a document, a form, doesn't matter what it is, I can just right click and say, help me write inside of Chrome, and it will help me write. Let me show you an example. Remember I said that tomorrow is the due date for these submissions. So guess what I'm doing tonight? I'm going to be getting my submissions in for the AI EDU and the ESC of Ohio AI summits. Yeah, I'm going to be working on that tonight. Well, let's say I come in here and I need to put in a session description. And here's one of my session descriptions about this is my managing AI misuse session. Well, I could be typing into this form, right click, and then I could choose help me write. And when I do, basically a Gemini powered Google AI prompt opens up where I can now talk to the AI and say something like, okay, this is a decent thing, but I could say something like, make this longer. Maybe it's not long enough, and I need to make that particular blurb longer. So I could say, hey, make this longer. And I could hit create. And now it's going to take that blurb and it's going to hopefully expand upon it. And if I like what it did, I could hit replace. It's going to take this and put it in place of what I was writing. Or I could say, make it shorter. I could say, change the tone, more formal, more casual. Or I could just ask it questions. It doesn't even have to be that. I could be in a totally blank one here. And I could say something like, maybe take this text here, come down here and say, I need goals and objectives. So I could say, okay, help me write. I could say something like, create some goals for attendees of a session with this content. So let's say this is my content that we're covering, and I need some goals for attendees. So I could click on that, and now hopefully it's going to, say, okay, here's what the attendees might learn. And so I could say, let's insert that, and now it's dropping it in there. So this is not, it's not like going to Gemini and having to copy, paste, but it is Gemini. It's just inside of Chrome. It's just baked right into it. So how do you get this? Well, basically what you're going to do is you're going to go up into your settings here in Chrome, and there's a section called Experimental AI. And in the experimental AI section, you can say, I want to turn these on. I want to try these out. And you can turn on help me write. You can do the tab organizer, the theme creator. You can turn on or off whichever ones you want to have on or off. I'm not seeing this in my work account at the moment, my school account. I'm only seeing experimental AI in my personal account. So I don't know. Maybe I'm not sure. I'm not sure how that is all going to work out in the end, but there you go. So that is getting built again right into Chrome. Let me pause there for a second. I see Ryan said something about what version that it's in. Yeah, what version am I on at the moment? Good question. I am on, no, don't update Chrome. I'm on 122. It's going to try to update my Chrome over there, and I don't want it to do that. don't update my Chrome. If I suddenly see, that's the danger. Don't ever try to update when in the middle of something. Hopefully it will not suddenly relaunch on us. If I disappear while I'm talking here, all of a sudden you'll know that my Chrome just decided to refresh. So let's hope that doesn't happen there. But yes, I am using version 122, and that's the version that I see it in. Excellent. All right. Good stuff. Well, where does that put us at then? How are we doing here? Let's see. Close out of this. I got so many things open here. This is always the danger of this. Where does that get us to? The last two things. Another AI thing about image generation. So I don't know if you guys saw this in the news, but Google had some issues with image generation in Gemini. Now, you noticed earlier when I asked it to generate some pictures, it did a fine job of that. It generated some pictures here, and it did a nice job of that. But what was happening was there were some images getting generated from Gemini that were not accurate, and it dealt with humans being generated, with people. It wasn't mountains and sunsets and dogs, it was people. So let's start with what happened and then explain why it happened and then explain why I think it's a good thing. This does not bother me at all. I'm not upset about this because basically Google was trying to do something good. They just went a little too far with it. So I'd rather that be the mistake than they didn't care and something went wrong. So what happened? Okay. Basically, people were putting in prompts saying, hey, I would like a picture showing, pilgrims, landing on, at Plymouth Rock or something. Well, when it would generate the image, it would show people that were of nationalities that we know were not landing on Plymouth Rock. It should be a bunch of white people landing on Plymouth Rock, obviously, but it would show pictures of people that were of different nationalities that no, that's not accurate. that's not historically, that is not who landed at Plymouth Rock, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And so people started sharing these pictures going, oh my gosh, I asked it for a historical image of XYZ. And look what it did. It put somebody of a particular background in this image that would never have been in that historical setting. And they basically said, hey, Google, your Gemini image creation is broke. Well, here's what was happening. So Google shut it down right away. They're like, okay, we've turned off image creation until we get this fixed. Here's what was happening. Google was trying to do a good thing. And here's what I mean by that. Let's say you go and say, hey, create a picture for me of a successful CEO. You want a picture of a successful CEO. What would you think if all you got back were picture after picture after picture of some old white dudes? If that's all that showed up. If Gemini said, okay, here's a successful CEO, and it just gave you a bunch of white dudes, that would be a problem, right? That would not be good. Or what if you said, hey, create an image of a nurse? What if it was nothing but women? And that was it. And that's all they gave you was pictures of women as nurses. I would have a problem with that. I would say this is not being representative. And so Google intentionally has been training Gemini and working with Gemini to create a diversity of representation when asked for pictures of a CEO, a nurse, whatever. Good on them. That's good. That's what I want. I want to see a range of people. The problem was they went too far. The algorithm wasn't balanced well enough. And so when they were getting things that were cultural or historical context, where you expected a response that accurately reflected that cultural or historical context, we weren't getting it. So they're fixing it. They're dialing it back. They're adjusting for that. They're training Gemini to realize, oh, no. This one is a historical request. We need to be historically representative. We're not talking about show me a picture of somebody walking a dog, where I should have a nice variety of gender and race and so forth. So I say congratulations, Google. I don't. Some people are upset about this. I'm not. I think this shows they were trying to do something good. And hey, I'd rather them mess up on the side of caution. So they're going to adjust it and get it rolled back out. So that's what happened there. Just wanted people to be aware. If you do try to generate an image, and if it tells you it can't generate images right now, that's because they are in the process of tweaking that and getting that fixed. And this is it. The last one, folks. The final thing I'm going to mention, and then we'll pause for some questions and comments before we move into show and tell and Q&A. But the last thing I'm going to mention is new ways to annotate in Google Docs. So this one just came out yesterday as an announcement. I was hoping to be able to demonstrate this for you today. I've checked multiple times since yesterday. It has not gone live for me yet. So I'm just going to have to talk about it, unfortunately. So here's the thing. Google is now rolling out some new features in Google Docs for what they're calling markups. And basically what it is the ability to draw on top of a Google Doc. Now, before you get too excited, hang on. I'm going to have to temper this for you. I don't want you to get too excited too quickly here because I want to temper this. But basically what this looks like, just so you can see what it looks like, it's a document with the ability to click this little pencil with a squiggly line and say, I want to annotate on my document. I want to draw on it. I want to write on it. I want to annotate on top of a document. So first of all, this is so exciting. I've been wondering why for years. Why do we not have this built into Google Docs? Why can't we just annotate to give feedback on a student's work, or to have a student do this, to draw an example of, whatever they're trying to solve as a math problem, draw the diagram and fill in the numbers and do all that. So this is coming, but again, let's temper your excitement, because here's how it's coming. It's coming to Android devices. Now, hold on. Don't get too tempered there, because there's still a positive to that, but this is coming to Android devices. So what that means is if you're on an Android device, an Android tablet, an Android phone, and you're using the mobile version of Google Docs, you will have the ability to add markups and annotations right on a Google document. After you do that, everybody will be able to see those. They don't have to be on an Android device to see them, just to create them. So if you're on an iOS device, you can see all of those. If you're on desktop, if you're on a Windows or a Mac, you'll be able to view all those markups. So if I, as a teacher, am able to generate the markups, anybody can view them. Now, here's where it gets better. Hold on. I know this is a roller coaster of emotions. Android apps run on Chromebooks. I can run the mobile version of Docs as an Android app on my Chromebook. So I don't have to be on an Android phone. I don't have to be on an Android tablet. I just have to be using the Android version of Google Docs on my Chromebook, which I do frequently. There's times I pop between the web version and the mobile version. So what this means is if you're a teacher and you have access to a Chromebook, especially one with touchscreen, If your school allows Android apps, which they absolutely should for teachers, without a doubt, there's so many good reasons for it. This is a great example. A teacher on a touchscreen Chromebook can now mark up a Google document. That's exciting. A student on a touchscreen Chromebook running the mobile version of Docs can do their math by hand. They can just write it out. So that is really exciting. I wish it was just, hey, guess what? Everybody can do this. I really hope it becomes that. I really, really hope this is just phase one. And I hope they say, oh yeah, now Windows and Macs and everybody has the annotation button. I really hope that's the case soon. But for now, you're not left out in the cold. If you can get a hold of a Chromebook with a touchscreen that can run Android apps, which is how they should be anyway, then you're good to go. Again, I was testing mine and I could check it again, but I just tested before our meeting. It still had not updated yet with that feature. They say it's rolling out. So it is supposed to be available as of yesterday for rapid release domains, which is my domain, but it can take up to 15 days. I kept hoping, but it could be any time in the next 2 weeks. If you're on a scheduled release domain, it doesn't start though until March 11th with 15 days of a rollout. So heads up, I can't show it to you today other than the little animation there, but I'm excited about it. Okay, there we go. So let's see. That was one of the longest What's New in Googles I think we've ever done. There was so much in there. We are going to do show and tell. We are going to do Q&A. We are going to limit it to the last 30 minutes because we do not go over 2 hours. That's the most we'll ever go with the meeting. So we only have 30 minutes. So we will cap it at that. But let's take a deep breath. Questions, comments, thoughts. Does anybody have anything that you want to add to or a question about any of the updates before we move into show and tell and Q&A? While you're thinking about that, feel free to drop things in the chat. What's going to happen next? We're going to move into show and tell, where I'll share some cool things. Denny will share some cool things. And if you guys have any community things to share, you can do that. And then we will look at Q&A. There's nothing in the Q&A yet, so nobody has a question yet, but this is the time. If you do, that would be a great time to drop things in there. So let's take a look at our chat here. And Denny, if you see something that I'm missing, please let me know. Let me see.
Dan just mentioned that with regards to like the interactive whiteboards, since a lot of them, I believe, run on Android.
Perfect. Yes.
Operating system, so you may be able to use it on some like Clever Touch or some of the other interactive whiteboards.
Dan, that's a great suggestion. Yeah, if the whiteboard is actually running the Android version of Google Docs, then yes, this should be popping up in there. And again, the beauty is anybody can view what you create. So even if they can't do the editing, you as a teacher can now leave this kind of feedback on there and they'll be able to view it. You just have to get to a device that can, at the moment, run the Android version. That's what the key is at the moment. Let's see, anything else? Kristen had asked about our sign-in for today. Hey, Kristen, as always, that is up in the important links. Thank you for reminding us about that. So yes, if you go to the important links on like the second page, highlighted in green, there's the sign-in form for today. Katura said, might be a silly question. How do you run the mobile version on a Chromebook? Okay, I'm happy to show you. Let's do that. It's not going to hurt. We don't have anything. Nothing's in the Q&A right now, so I think we're going to have enough time to do show and tell. Let me fire up my Chromebook next to us here, and let me do that. Give me just a second. It will take me only a moment to get this pulled up. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use Chrome Remote Desktop to show you. So let's just do Chrome Remote Desktop. That'll be faster than me trying to pull. I could pull my Chromebook into the StreamYard stream, but we'll just do it this way real quick. So I am going to connect to my Chromebook over here. Give me just a second. Still connecting here. Hang on just a second. There we go. And give it permission. And there we go. Okay. So this is my Chromebook sitting next to us over here. So you can see this is my Chromebook there. And so basically the idea is that when you're on a Chromebook, step one for an Android app, you have to be able to install the Android apps. If you look down here at the bottom of my Chromebook, I have the Google Play Store. So that allows me to install Android apps. How did I get that? Well, it depends. If you're using a personal Google account, it's just in the settings. You just go into the Chromebook settings, and there's a spot in your Chromebook settings where you can say you want to use the Google Play Store. I would probably have to find it now. I don't know if I can find it fast enough. Let me see if I can find it fast enough. I'm not sure. Play Store. Let me see. There it is. What was it under? Oh, it was under apps. Okay, there we go. And so I basically had to come in here underneath apps and then the Google Play Store, and I had to turn it on. Now I would be taking it off, but basically I had to turn it on. And that's it. If it's a personal account, it's just basically coming in here to the apps setting, going to the Google Play Store, and then turning it on. And that's it. Little different if you're on a school account. This has to be done by your tech folks. They go into the admin console and you basically you add the option to use Android apps on the Chromebooks, and then you put into an approved list which apps are allowed to be used. So every app has to be approved. And so you basically go in and say, here are the 10, 20, 30, 50 apps, whatever, that you're allowed to use. Once that's done, then even on a school account, you could have the Play Store and you would have access to whatever was available for you to install. You can also force install the Android apps if you want to say, you don't even need to click the Play Store. We're going to push them out to you. Now, when I come down here and click on my launcher, look what I have. I have two different docs icons, 2 sheets, 2 slides, 2 drives. Why? One's Chrome, one is Android. I don't always remember which one's which, so I usually end up clicking on them both if I remember. I think this is the web and this is the Android, but let's see. If I click docs for the web, yep, there it is. So this is my docs.google.com. This is my web version of it. If I come down here and I go to the other one, that's the Android version. So this is my Android version of it, and I'm currently using my work account. But I could pop over to my personal account as well. I was testing it in my work account, but there we go. And so here is the agenda document we were just looking at for Chromebooks can do that. Here is our agenda for today. Oh, no, this is the agenda from last October. Sorry, that's the last October agenda. What's going to happen is we're going to get a little button right here, and that little button is going to be that annotation button. So basically, I would open up this Android version. This is the Android version of Google Docs. And from there, I would click the annotation button. It would give me the annotation options. And now I could just annotate on that. So that's what that's going to look like. Again, that little button there. I think we've got the little icon there, little icon. That's what's going to show up. So I hope that explains how that works.
So Eric, when I'm on my Chromebook, I had to do this for Google Classroom because there are more things that you have access to on Google Classroom through the app.
That's a good example. Yes.
I see a little Chrome icon next to, like it's embedded in the those icons with regards to the Classroom version.
Right. So
why?
Well, at least it used to do that. And I totally agree with you, Denny. I totally agree with you. Classroom has often been the one that I use as an example for this because Classroom has been one of the selling points for why you would want to do the mobile on a Chromebook. So if I come here and I click on this Classroom app, that's the mobile version of Classroom. If I come here and click on this Classroom app, it's the web version of Classroom. And so I'm seeing both the mobile and the web versions. In the past, you are correct. It had a little icon. The one that was the web version had an itty bitty little Chrome symbol next to it. That has been gone for me recently. I don't know why, because that was really helpful. That helped me distinguish the difference between them. Because you're right, Denny, the mobile version of Classroom does things that the regular version doesn't do. It's really nice. It's got the random student picker. It's got annotations built into it. It's got a lot of neat stuff. So, but yes, absolutely, using Android apps on a Chromebook is a very valuable thing. And it's getting more valuable all the time with an example like annotating in Google Docs. All right. Good stuff. Whew, doggies. All right. Well, let's go ahead and let's get into the last bit of stuff we have here. A little bit of show and tell. Denny, I've been talking for quite a while. I'm sure people are tired of listening to me. Would you like to chat a little bit about the things that you had here to share? If you want to share your screen, that's fine. If you just want me to click on these for you, that's fine as well.
Yeah, I think if you just click on them, that'd probably be easier.
You got it.
So this first resource I shared out actually is a culmination of everyone that shared from GEG Ohio, because I sent this out to this group and several other groups asking the question what people used for digital citizenship at their school. So I compiled a lot of the resources. You can see all the tabs across the bottom. The Common Sense Media has some great stuff. The first tab has a lot of the links that I was able to find. I really like the Be Internet Awesome for the little ones. It goes through like a game sort of environment and has certain what do you call it, domains that students work through, certain worlds that they work through to be Internet awesome. But there's a lot of resources there, and I wanted to share that back out, compiled with you all.
Well, that's fantastic. First of all, thank you for doing that. And I love that idea of crowdsourcing, saying, hey, folks, I'm trying to pull together the best digital citizenship resources I can. Here's what I've got. What might you add? And then you taking all of that and compiling it and sharing it back out. That rocks. Thank you for doing that.
If anyone has anything to add to it too, please share, and I will add. I tried to add everything that where people responded. So
yeah, that's fantastic.
The second one doesn't really have anything to do with like Google, but I thought
that's okay.
I was at OETC and I thought this was awesome. In our area, in the Southern Ohio area, PBS has, if you hit the inventory button there, there's this WOUB allows you to borrow any of this stuff from them, WOUB PBS. And I found this when I went to the drone exhibit at OETC, our tech conference, and there are so many things there that you can borrow that I was not aware of as a school, and they'll even come to your school for drone education and things like that. So I just thought this was an awesome resource. If you're in the Southern Ohio area, or if you're not, I'm sure there's a PBS in your area that may do the same thing. So something you could look into.
That's excellent.
Yeah. And then the last one, this is something that I did recently, just kind of a way to introduce some of the teachers to all the AI tools that are out there, CurryPod, Magic School, and things like that. Just a choice board for them at a PD recently. So if you click on one of those, it should take you to the just a short, fun way of using that tool. So and I believe I was inspired again by, I don't remember if it was someone from GEG Ohio or somewhere else that it created something. And I'm like, we could do a choice board out of that. So that's what I did.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Awesome.
That's all I have, I believe.
Well, thank you as always for sharing those resources. That is great. Appreciate it very much. I know John, Stephanie, and Sarah are not with us today, but as always, shout out to Stephanie. Join her Google group to access her materials. Shout out to Sarah. Sign up for her newsletter to get her weekly tips and tricks. So as far as things I was going to share out, I'll keep it really brief. Again, we're running out of time here today, so I'll definitely keep it brief. Reminder, you can join my email group, my Facebook group, my email newsletter, get my blog posts, etc. Follow my EdTech links of the week, things like that. But as far as what I've been producing, not as much this last month. It's been a PD heavy month. There's just been so many conferences between OETC and other things. I have not put out the same content I normally produce, so a little bit lighter on that, but here are some of the things I've put out recently. One was kind of like what you just did, Denny, that kind of concept of pulling together resources. Somebody had asked a question about what are some good resources to teach our students about AI. So basically, I'm like, okay, let me see what I can find. Then I asked people and people suggested things and I curated all those together. And so this is a collection of totally free resources that can help teach students about AI. What is AI? How can it assist them? What's appropriate? What's inappropriate with AI? How can you identify misinformation and bias in AI? Things we need to teach our students about AI, pulled these all together. So if you just want the quick list, there's the list. But if you want details on each of them, if you go down further, I'd give a couple paragraphs for each one explaining what it does. So you've got things like Google's lesson on discovering AI in daily life. You've got this one from Common Sense Media, which is their collection of AI lessons covering, all of those topics we just mentioned. Here's one from code.org on how AI works. Here is a collection from Day of AI with loads of curricular topics there. Teach AI is a collection of resources from AI EDU. All of this, though, it's all free. These are videos, they're lesson plans, they're activities. Some of them are like good for, one class period. Some of these you could stretch into a semester if you pulled all of the content together. So, again, Google, Common Sense Media, code.org, Day of AI, AI EDU. This is one from MIT's Media Lab. And then I just threw in some others that are not standalone like lesson plans, but they're tools you could use in those. So like Teachable Machine from Google is a great way to teach students how AI works. So what does it mean to train an AI? Why does more data give better results than less data? Things like that. Say What You See. This is one that talks about identifying which images are AI generated and which ones are not. And so, oh no, that's the odd one out. Sorry. Odd one out is which ones are, I flipped them in my head. Sorry. Odd one out is generating, picking which images are AI and which ones are not. So it gives you 4 images. You've got to pick which one is AI generated. The other 3 are images from arts and culture, from Google Arts and Culture. So this is great to talk about. Can we identify what is fake and what is not? This one, Say What You See, is learning how to prompt an AI. You're given a picture and your job is to write a prompt that best creates that image. So you put in your prompt, it creates an image and it sees how close you can get to the original. So it's learning how to improve prompting. Now, I guarantee you, I didn't get everything. There's got to be more out there. So please, just like Denny said, we want to know from you. So in this case, I said, just drop me an email and I'm happy to include other resources in this. I hope this list will just grow and grow and grow over time. But this can be a great resource if you're looking for content to teach students about AI. Next up, I was on another podcast, Tech Unrec. This is a podcast by Vivacity or Vivacity. I think it's Vivacity. I feel so bad. I've done work with them in the past, and I always mispronounce their name. But they are an awesome ed tech company, and they've just launched a new podcast called Tech Unrec. And I was on episode 2 of it. It's a very new podcast, but you can listen to my episode, and you can check out all of the rest of the podcast and subscribe to that if you're looking for another good ed tech podcast. Next up, we had Valentine's Day come through. So here's my post on some of my favorite googly Valentine's activities. These are ones I've created over the years, like my hearts and charts Google Sheets math activities where students are using those conversation hearts from Valentine's to do math activities, my Valentine emoji rebus stories in Docs, my Valentine magnetic poetry in Google Drawings, and my Valentine cards in Google Drawings. So just pulled those together in one place so you don't have to hunt all over to find those. And then I also had a webinar recently. This was an accessibility tools webinar. This one I did as part of the Teacher Innovation Network's EdTech Playground series. These are completely free webinars. They run these like once a month. They're an awesome group of folks. I did this in January. Kat Goyette was the other presenter. I think I went first, Kat went second, but we were both talking about accessibility tools to support learners. It's a 90-minute webinar video. I'm like the first chunk of it. Kat's the second chunk of it. And then the third chunk is a lot of Q&A and stuff. So I would absolutely recommend checking that out. But not just that, check out the entire series from the Teacher Innovation Network, all the webinars that they put out. All right. I think that's it for my show and tell. Let's come down and see. Nothing popped up in community show and tell, but we did get a couple of questions in our Q&A. So for the last couple minutes here, let's take a look and see if there's anything that we can address in some of these. All right. The first question in a Google Sheet. I know how to sort a sheet by a sheet column by ABC order, but how can I sort the date or timestamp column to have the most recent entries at the top? So Kathy, you should be able to do the same sorting you're describing on a date or timestamp column, because it's going to treat those as dates that are chronologically able to be sorted. So let's try an example here. I don't want to reveal anybody's email address here, so I'm trying to think, what if I do this? I will tell you what, let's grab our sign-in sheet. I'm going to hide the email addresses. I don't want that to show up because I don't want to put that on the screen here. Let me grab our sign-in sheet. Let me pull it to another screen so I temporarily can pull it up and nobody's going to see it. And let me go to the sheet. I'm going to hide the column that has email addresses and stuff. I don't want anybody to worry about that. So let me hide that column. There we go. I think that's good. I think I can bring this back over now without revealing any personal information there. So here we have maybe. Hey, come on, buddy. There it is. So here's that spreadsheet there. And so notice the column A is a timestamp column there. Now, if I had sorted this some other way, like if I had sorted by, last name or something, if I came here and I said data, sort the sheet by column K, A to Z. So this is sorted by last name. Well, now the first column where it's timestamp, all of that now is, no longer sorted. That's, all mixed up there. So what I would want to do, maybe here, hold on. There we go. It's not that big of a spreadsheet. It's taking it a moment for whatever reason for it to. I guess I just have too many things open. That happens sometimes. I just get too many things open at once. There we go. Okay. So now let me zoom in a bit so you guys can see that a little bit better. What I could do is I could just click anywhere, doesn't matter where, anywhere at all in this first column A, as long as I've clicked in the column. Then I would go up to data. I'd go to sort sheet by column A, either A to Z or Z to A. Now, all that means is low to high or high to low. So this is a timestamp column. That's going to mean earliest to latest, latest to earliest. So if I say, let's sort the entire sheet by column A, low to high, when I do that, there we go. Now I've got the earliest dates at the beginning, and I've got the latest dates all the way down at the bottom there. Excellent. All right. So I hope that answers your question there on sorting dates. If that doesn't, let me know, but it should, under most conditions, do that. Ryan had a good suggestion. He said, if that's not working, the sheet could be confused about what kind of data is in the column. So that's a good point, Ryan. If it is coming from a Google form, it should know that it is, date, time. But thanks, I'm glad that worked. But Ryan's got a good point. If it wasn't from a Google form, it could be sorting it alphabetically rather than as a date. So what I would want to do is go in and reformat it as a date instead. All right. Looks like we did answer this question earlier. How do you run the mobile version on a Chromebook? So I think we did get that addressed there. How about this one? Is there a way to let teachers have access to the entire Play Store, but only allow students access to the approved list? It's difficult for teachers to try out apps that they always have to be approved. Let's see what people answered here. My understanding was no. I thought we still had to approve every app in the Play Store that we wanted people to use. In the admin console, we have OU set up for students and teachers. We apply settings that way. Let me see. Ryan said, oh, no, Ryan was adding that in. Sorry, that was Ryan's question. Sorry, Ryan. Yes, you can adjust things by OU, but I'm sorry, I don't remember that it's changed from the last time I was in there setting it up. There was not an option to just say the entire Play Store is wide open for teachers. You still had to go in and approve a collection of apps, which is what I've done. I've approved like 100 apps or something like that. If I'm wrong, I apologize. Let's just put it this way. The last time I did this, no, there wasn't a way to just open up the whole Play Store to the teachers. You had to go in and approve them individually. Maybe it's changed since. If so, let us know. I would be excited for that to be the case, but it wasn't the last time I checked. All right. Well, I think that's it. I think that gets us to the end of our session. Let me do a little bit of wrap up, and then we'll take any final questions, comments, or whatever. Please feel free to still drop things in the Q&A, drop things in the chat. But as we wrap up, first of all, thank you. Just thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate being able to learn with you guys here today. As always, if you did not sign in, remember on page 2 is the sign in link, so I can send you a certificate of attendance. And remember that next month, you can always go to the GEG Ohio website, and you can go to the meetings, the monthly meetings, and you'll see our next upcoming meeting is scheduled currently for March 27th. I will, of course, share that out through all of the normal channels, including our Google Educator group. If you haven't joined, please join. That's a great way to stay in the loop on everything that we are sharing. Other than that, let's see. Denny, did you have anything to add before we start to wrap all of this up here today? Oop, I think you're muted.
Sorry, I don't think I have anything to add. We've covered a lot of information, so.
Excellent. Dan threw in a quick thing. He says, not Google related, but I got an email from the Brisk teaching extension. They can now create slideshows. Dan, I saw that too, but I didn't get a chance to click on it and do anything with it yet. But yeah, I saw that pop up as well, saying, hey, there's some, yep, there it is. It just came in today from Suvi. She's I got to meet Suvi when I was at the Florida conference at the FETC conference. She's one of their community manager people, and she's amazing. And she was just sharing out that. So got to dive into that and see what that does. Dan saying that he has played with it. It's impressive. I look forward to it. I'll tell you, Brisk. I like Brisk a lot. Brisk is doing some really neat things. Somebody mentioned earlier, Denny, you had mentioned about the inspect writing feature in Brisk, and I'm totally down with that. I share that every AI training session I do. I share the inspect writing tool, which helps you be able to identify AI writing versus student writing. So can't say enough good things about Brisk. It's a great tool. Well, folks, thanks so much. It has been an absolute pleasure learning with you. I hope to see you at some of these upcoming conferences. Hope to stay connected with you through the Google group. But whatever the case, until next month, have a wonderful time. Keep learning, keep sharing, stay connected, and we'll see you again very soon. Take care, everybody.
Bye all.